Welcome to the deep dive. Our premise here is, well, it's pretty simple. We take a stack of your custom sources, your articles, research, your own notes, and we extract the most important nuggets of insight, custom tailored just for you.
Exactly. We do the heavy lifting for you.
Right. And today, your stack brought us a truly fascinating text. We are exploring excerpts from the writings of Guru Amar Das Ji.
Specifically from Rag Suhi on page 788.
Yes, page 788. And our mission today is to decode this piece of centuries-old poetry that, on the surface at least, reads like this highly sensory description of a bride getting ready for her husband.
It's very vivid.
Very vivid. But as we pull at the threads of this imagery, it reveals itself as a profound, step-by-step guide to shedding the human ego and basically merging with the universe.
It really is quite the shift.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this because I am so curious about how a text can leverage such vivid, almost theatrical physical imagery to map out something as abstract as, the dissolution of the self.
Right, it's a huge conceptual leap.
Totally. So let's look at the literal scene the author paints first. We have this bride meticulously decorating herself. The text mentions she applies kajal, she adorns herself with fresh flour.
She prepares the fragrance, the joy of betel nuts.
Exactly. It is this intense flurry of external preparation.
And what's fascinating here is that the focus on the external is entirely deliberate. The text really immerses us in the physical effort of preparation.
Right.
We see someone trying to manufacture worthiness or, trying to secure an outcome purely through the accumulation of external rituals.
Which is such a human thing to do, right?
Oh, absolutely. It is a deeply familiar human impulse to believe that if we just arrange the outside world perfectly, the internal world will naturally fall into place.
Yeah, but the conflict the text introduces just shatters that assumption completely. It issues this very stark warning to the bride.
It doesn't hold back.
Not at all. It says, "O bride, decorate yourself after you surrender and accept your husband Lord. Otherwise, your husband Lord will not come to your bed and your ornaments will be useless." And it pushes it even further in another stanza, stating that if the ultimate connection isn't made, these physical efforts don't just gently fail. They actually become a source of corruption and deep sorrow.
The preparation itself is what causes the pain.
Right. Which makes me think about the sheer exhaustion of unreciprocated effort.
Well, that's a great way to frame it.
Like, imagine throwing this incredibly lavish surprise party for a friend. You rent out a beautiful venue, you hire a caterer, you spend days agonizing over the perfect playlist, hanging hundreds of lights. You pour your entire soul into the aesthetics of the evening.
You're doing everything right on paper.
Right. And then, at the time the party is supposed to start, you realize you sent out the wrong address. No one is coming.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You are
right.
standing in this immaculately decorated room, completely alone. The text captures that specific crushing weight of hollow effort.
Because the beautiful decorations don't offer any comfort in that moment.
Exactly. They actually amplify the emptiness. The effort becomes the source of the sorrow because the presence you build it all for is just missing.
That captures the psychological weight perfectly. Because in the text, the husband Lord represents the divine, right? The ultimate underlying truth of reality.
Mm-hmm.
And if a person operates their life or their relationships or even their spiritual practices without a genuine rooted connection to that underlying truth, well, their ornaments are fundamentally useless.
They're standing alone in the decorated room of their own ego.
Precisely. The text is establishing a baseline truth here. External actions, rituals, they mean absolutely nothing if the ultimate connection is missing. The physical actions are just echoes in a void unless the foundational presence is there to anchor them.
Thankfully, the text doesn't just abandon you in that echoing void.
No, it offers a way out.
Right. The failure of those physical adornments forces a transition to a completely different type of preparation. It proposes a set of spiritual replacements for the physical makeup and the flowers.
It swaps the physical out for the internal.
Yes. It says to make the fear of God your ornaments, joy your betel nuts to chew, and love your food.
So we move from doing to being.
Right, but I have to push back on the specific phrasing of that orientation, though.
Okay, what part?
The translation tells you to make the fear of God your ornaments. I mean, fear is almost universally experienced as a shrinking emotion.
It's true.
It makes us defensive. It makes us put up walls. It triggers a survival instinct to just run or hide. Suggesting that a negative, contracting emotion like fear should be worn as a beautiful ornament seems, well, incredibly counterintuitive. How does fear decorate a person?
That's a really valid point. And the contradiction there is intentional. It requires us to separate our modern, anxiety-driven definition of fear from the concept the text is actually pointing toward.
Okay, so it's not like being scared of the dark.
No, not at all. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at what the text pairs this fear with.
Right, it's paired with joy and love.
Exactly. It is immediately coupled with joy and love. And that pairing alters the chemistry of the word entirely. This isn't the terror of a predator. It is profound, overwhelming awe.
Oh, I see. So it's less about being afraid of a punishment and more about, I guess, encountering a scale that breaks your current understanding of the world.
Yes. Think about the physical mechanics of being caught in a powerful ocean current.
Oh, man.
Terrifying.
Right. If you try to fight a rip current with your own strength, panic sets in. That is terror. Your ego is fighting a battle it simply cannot win against an infinite force.
You're just exhausting yourself.
Precisely. But the moment you surrender your desperate need to control the situation, the moment you stop fighting the water and just let the buoyancy hold you, the terror transforms.
Wow, okay.
You are still completely at the mercy of something vastly more powerful than you, but the panic is replaced by a profound, humbling respect for the magnitude of the ocean.
Because you've accepted it.
Yes. That realization where you finally understand you are not the ocean, you are just the drop. That is the fear of God, the author describes. Awe, reverence, and surrendering your body and mind. That shift from fighting the current to letting it carry you, that explains the next line perfectly. The text says, surrender your body and mind to your husband, Lord, and then he will enjoy you. When you stop thrashing around trying to assert your own control, you become open. The awe strips away the defensive armor, leaving the bride truly adorned not with ego, but with the grounded reality of her place in the universe.
And that vulnerability is the absolute prerequisite for union. You cannot merge with something if you are still fiercely guarding the boundaries of your individual self.
Right, you have to let the walls down.
Exactly. The awe dissolves those boundaries, making the spiritual bride porous, receptive, and ultimately ready for the connection she was preparing for.
Which brings us to what that connection actually looks like in practice. The text redefines the concept of a true partnership in a way that feels, honestly, incredibly demanding.
It sets a very high bar.
It really does. The bride is spiritually adorned, the boundaries are down, and the text delivers a striking observation. It says, they are not said to be husband and wife who merely sit together.
And then it gives the real definition.
Right, the ultimate standard. They alone are called husband and wife who have one light in two bodies.
One light in two bodies. That serves as one of the most lucid, uncompromising definitions of non-duality available.
It's beautiful.
It completely rejects the illusion of separation.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The critique of those who merely sit together.
Right. Physical proximity isn't enough.
Exactly. Think about two people sitting on the same couch, but completely absorbed in their own separate phone screens.
A very modern, relatable image.
Yeah. They are physically proximate, maybe even touching. But spiritually, they are miles apart. They might as well be speaking entirely different languages, transmitting into the void.
They're just isolated islands of ego.
Contrast that with, say, a choir of 50 people hitting a perfect, complex harmony.
Oh, I like that.
In that moment of perfect synchronization, the individual voices cease to exist. You don't hear 50 separate people. You hear one singular, unified chord. The text is demanding that level of integration.
That's the why behind this phrasing. The author utilizes the universally understood framework of human marriage to map out an experience that basically defies language.
Because merging with the infinite is hard to wrap your head around.
It is. It's too vast, too nebulous of a concept for the human mind to easily grasp. But we inherently understand the desire for perfect synchronization with another person.
Right, that feeling of being completely understood.
Exactly. We crave that feeling where you don't have to explain yourself, where the other person anticipates your movement because your intentions are aligned. The text scales that human desire up to the cosmic level.
So it's about total synchronization.
Yes. True spiritual realization isn't a negotiation between you and the divine. It is the realization that the separation was always an illusion. The individual voice disappears into the chord. There is only one light animating everything.
It effectively ends the concept of spiritual loneliness. You realize you were never actually separate to begin with.
You just thought you were.
Yeah, you were just singing out of tune and thinking you were the whole choir.
That's a great way to put it.
But, understanding that intellectually is one thing. Actually experiencing that one light is where we hit the most challenging part of the deep dive.
The application is always the hardest part.
Always. The final structural phase of the text, where analyzing the pare, or the ultimate conceptual step, it attempts to break down the mechanics of this transformation. Because how does a person dealing with a stressful commute, a demanding job, and a chaotic mind actually achieve this unified state?
Well, the text outlines a very specific progression to get there, it argues. Without the fear of God, there is no devotional worship and no love for the name of the Lord.
So the awe is the necessary starting line.
Exactly. Then it adds the catalyst.
Yeah.
Meeting with the true guru, the fear of God wells up, and one is embellished with the fear and the love of God.
And the mechanical result of that catalyst is massive.
Yeah.
The text says that when the body and mind are imbued with this love, egotism and desire are conquered and subdued.
They naturally fall away.
Right. The individual becomes immaculately pure and very beautiful upon meeting the Lord, who is given the very specific title, the destroyer of ego.
The sequence demands careful attention here. An encounter with truth sparks the awe generates the love, and the presence of that profound love naturally subdues the ego.
I see a significant structural paradox in that sequence, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
The text explicitly states that true devotion is impossible without the fear of God, that profound awe we talked about. But it also states that you need to meet the true guru for that awe to well up in the first place. This creates a closed loop.
It does seem like a catch-22.
Right. I can't practice genuine devotion without the awe, but I can't generate the awe without this external encounter with truth. It heavily implies that I cannot force my way into this state of enlightenment through sheer willpower.
You can't just check it off a list.
Exactly. I can't just wake up on a Tuesday and aggressively decide to conquer my ego.
This raises an important question about the fundamental nature of spiritual effort. We are heavily conditioned by modern society to treat spiritual growth as just another metric of self-improvement.
Oh, absolutely. We want a 5-step plan for enlightenment.
Right. We approach it the same way we approach learning a new language or training for a marathon. We assume that if we apply enough discipline, our ego will eventually succeed in dismantling itself.
Which results in the ultimate irony. The ego taking immense pride in how incredibly humble and spiritually advanced it has become.
Exactly. The mechanism of the ego cannot be used to dismantle the ego. Think of it like trying to erase a dark pencil mark using the tip of another pencil.
Oh man, you're just making it worse.
You are only adding more graphite to the paper. You are reinforcing the very thing you are trying to remove.
That's a perfect analogy.
And the text fully acknowledges the impossibility of self-liberation and resolves the paradox in its concluding thought. Fear and love all belong to Him. He is the true Lord, permeating and pervading the universe.
Fear and love all belong to Him. The very tools required for the connection are not manufactured by the individual. They are provided by the environment.
You do not generate the awe from within your own isolated ego. The awe belongs to the divine, which already permeates the universe. The role of the individual is not to construct a ladder to the divine through rigorous, ego-driven achievement.
It's a process of total surrender.
Yes, the role of the individual is simply to stop adding graphite to the paper. The true guru, whether you understand that as a physical teacher, a moment of profound clarity or the inner resonance of truth, does not give you something new.
It just reveals what's there.
Exactly. The guru simply interrupts the constant noisy monologue of your ego long enough for you to notice the reality that already exists.
It's the difference between actively trying to forcefully create silence by shouting at everyone to be quiet versus simply choosing to stop speaking.
Shouting for silence never works.
Never. You don't do silence. Silence is what is left when the doing stops.
And that is the core mechanism of surrender in daily life. When you are stuck in traffic or dealing with a difficult situation, surrender isn't an action you take. It is the practice of noticing your mind spinning a frantic narrative about how unfair the situation is and simply choosing to step back from that narrative.
You stop fighting the rip current.
You stop fighting the rip current. The divine is called the destroyer of ego because the moment you stop actively maintaining the illusion of your separate embattled self, the ego dissolves naturally in the presence of that larger reality.
So what does this all mean for you as you digest this deep dive today? Whether you are evaluating your own spiritual practices, looking for deeper authenticity in your relationships, or just trying to navigate the friction of daily life with a little more grace? This text offers a vital reframing of how we spend our energy.
It really challenges our priorities.
It does. It warns us that frantically applying the physical and metaphorical adornments of life, chasing external validation, perfectly curating our image, going through the motions of connection without any real vulnerability is a recipe for profound sorrow. True beauty is found in the absence of that frantic effort.
True connection isn't just physical proximity.
Right. It is found in the quiet, awe-inspiring realization that you are part of a much larger harmony, and that genuine presence always requires the softening of the ego.
It challenges us to look closely at our daily efforts. Are we building elaborate empty rooms just to say we built them, or are we actually cultivating the internal quiet necessary to welcome a genuine connection?
And that leads to one final lingering thought we want to leave you with today. We spent this deep dive exploring the beautiful metaphor of the bride, meticulously preparing her surroundings, aching and waiting patiently by her bed for the husband Lord to finally arrive.
A powerful image of longing.
But if, as the text ultimately reveals, the divine is already permeating and pervading every single atom of the universe, pervading every single atom of the universe, and if even the very fear and love the bride feels in her chest actually belong to that divine presence.
Right, if it's all already him.
Then when that bride is sitting there, feeling the agony of separation and waiting for the husband Lord to appear, is she actually just waiting to realize that the divine was already there, doing the waiting right alongside her? We'll let you mull that one over.